Robert in the Attic. If you have ever watched Chucky from the Child's Play movies, then you should know about the actual doll that inspired him. This doll is named Robert, and instead of wearing overall suspenders and having long red hair, this doll sports a creepy sailor suit, black eyes, and holes all over his face. The doll's original owner was a young boy who was also named Robert, but went by the name of Gene instead, because Eugene was his middle name. Many people believe that the sailor suit Robert wears is a real one that Gene himself used to wear. Gene loved the doll so much that he absolutely refused to part with it, even after becoming an adult. Instead, the doll went with him everywhere until he died in 1974. A woman named Myrtle Reuter soon bought the property and found Robert the doll still inside. Her 10-year-old daughter remembers that the doll was alive, and she believes to this day that he constantly plotted to kill her. She and other visitors recall hearing footsteps in the attic where Robert stayed. He would also move to different areas of the house on his own. In 1994, Myrtle decided she had enough and donated Robert to a museum. You can view him in Key West, Florida, for yourself, if you ever feel like you need a new friend. King Tut hates your pets. King Tut was an Egyptian ruler who died at the age of 19. Although he did relatively little during his 9 years as pharaoh, his cursed tomb has made him immensely famous years after death. Here's what happened. British explorers seemed to love sticking their noses in the most haunted places of the world, and in 1891, Howard Carter figured he would continue the trend. He went to Egypt and poked around there for almost 3 decades, until he finally came across Tut's tomb in the early 1920s. You would think that they opened the coffin and there Tut was, but that's not exactly what happened. First, they opened the coffin and found a smaller coffin inside. Inside of that was an even smaller coffin. And inside of that was a third coffin that was made of gold. King Tut was inside. Lord Carnarvon accompanied Howard to the tomb and was responsible for funding the excavation. All of his pets died and he himself died of a mosquito bite shortly thereafter. The technician who x-rayed King Tut died as well. A wealthy visitor who wanted to see the tomb died, and another member of Howard's team is thought to have somehow died of arsenic poisoning. Howard himself did not die, but it is said that a cobra ate his pet canary on the same day that he found the tomb. Donna's doll. Donna was turning 28 years old and was going to school as a nursing student in the year 1970. Her mother got her a Raggedy Ann doll to keep her company while she was away at college. It would soon prove to become the worst gift she had ever received. Donna and her roommate would come home to find the doll in different positions all around the house. Sometimes its arms were folded, and other times it was found leaning against a chair. Sometimes the Raggedy Ann doll would even be kneeling. If you've ever seen a Raggedy Ann doll before, you'd know that it was impossible for Donna to put the doll in a kneeling position without it falling over, so they really had no idea what to make of this. Things only continued to get worse. Somebody started leaving short messages around the house that said things like, "Help us." Her roommate's fiancé claimed to have been attacked by the doll on 2 separate occasions. When Donna came home to find spots of blood on the doll's hand and chest, she contacted a paranormal investigation team for answers. The 2 investigators, named Ed and Lorraine Warren, determined that the spirit of a young girl named Annabelle Higgins was to blame. She had been killed, and her body had been found in the exact same area where Donna now lived, except it was just a bare field back then. Donna and her roommate gave Annabelle permission to live inside of the doll, and they gave it to the Warrens for safekeeping. The doll, possessed by Annabelle, is now in a paranormal museum owned by the Warrens, and she is still causing trouble. According to them, one visitor in particular would not stop mocking Annabelle. He challenged her to bring him harm, and she accepted. According to the Warrens, on his way home, the man hit a tree while riding his motorcycle and did not survive. The Salty Ghost. There's a haunted mansion in Newport, Rhode Island, with two very haunted chairs. The Belcourt Mansion was built in 1894 by Oliver Belcourt, who was just basically some rich guy who wanted a place to show off his huge collection of medieval stuff. Unfortunately, when you put a ton of old armor, books and other antiques under the same roof, you sometimes wind up with a completely haunted estate. And that's exactly what happened. And the place is now home to two old haunted salt chairs. If you're wondering what a salt chair is, it's basically a chair that was made especially for the person who was sitting closest to the salt during meals. Salt used to be a precious resource a long time ago, and so sitting by the salt was a big enough deal that you got a special chair for it. Apparently, whoever was in charge of the salt back then still lingers around the chairs to this day, and they don't want to give up their position as head of the table. Visitors who sit in either two of the salt chairs reportedly feel anxious, ill, or even like they're being electrocuted. One of the chairs even shot out a bolt of lightning in front of 70 witnesses, the mansion owner says. Another time, a person was launched 6 feet across the room when they tried to sit down. Oftentimes, visitors who are brave enough to take a seat say that it feels like there's already somebody sitting there. There's also a haunted helmet that screams on its own, and a fixed mirror that casts a moving reflection, but we like the ghost who throws people on the floor the most. The Iceman Cometh. Ötzi is the name of a prehistoric caveman who was preserved by the cold climate of the Italian Alps. Many scientists believe he was a shepherd who was murdered by other cavemen for his animal herd, which could be why his very body itself appears to be cursed and out for revenge. For whatever reason, he just can't seem to stop killing almost everyone who disturbs him. Ötzi was discovered in 1991 by 2 German tourists. One of the tourists, a man named Helmut Simon, would later die in almost the exact same spot he made the discovery years later in 2004. He fell to his death during a freak blizzard that no one had seen coming. And he is far from alone. The person in charge of the rescue team for Helmut seemed to be punished for interfering. He died of an unexpected heart attack by age 45, just 1 hour after Helmut's funeral. Ötzi is believed to have claimed many other lives through accidents and mysterious illnesses. The first archaeologist who ever looked at Ötzi died. The head of the forensic team that examined Ötzi died as well. The mountain climber who brought the forensic team to Ötzi died. And as for the man who filmed Ötzi while he was being removed from his grave, he lived. Just kidding, he died of brain cancer. Seriously, don't mess with Ötzi. India's dark secret. The Hope Diamond is not the only cursed gem from India. The Delhi Purple Sapphire was first recovered from the Temple of Indra by British explorers in 1857. In the Hindu religion, Indra is the most powerful god of them all, and as everyone soon found out, also probably the last god you'd ever want to anger. An Englishman named Colonel W. Ferris brought the gem back with him. Soon afterwards, everyone in his family had health issues and lost their money. When a family friend held on to the Delhi Purple Sapphire for a bit, they committed suicide. Over 30 years after its discovery, a writer named Edward Heron Allen eventually acquired the gem. He was not a superstitious man in the slightest, but after experiencing a rash of bad luck, he passed it on to his friends to see if the alleged curse would continue. One friend became extremely ill from a number of different health complications, and another friend, who was a singer, lost her voice forever. The gem seemed to go after a person's very livelihood, taking away whatever they enjoyed in life the most. By this point, Edward had seen enough of the gem's destructiveness, and he threw it into a canal to rid himself of it once and for all. Imagine his surprise when a gemstone dealer showed him the same Delhi Purple Sapphire that he had thrown in the canal shortly thereafter. It had found its way back to him. Edward bought the gem on the spot, though exactly why is unclear. Maybe he wanted to keep other people safe from its curse. Maybe he was accepting his fate. Either way, he eventually donated it to a museum because he was going to have a daughter and he wanted her nowhere near the thing. By the way, museum workers have suffered horrible health problems both times that the sapphire has been transported. The Passion of the Curse. In 2004, Mel Gibson directed The Passion of the Christ, a movie which reenacts the biblical events leading up to the crucifixion of Christ and his resurrection. The movie received a lot of criticism for its touchy subject matter, and some people believe that God himself gave it 2 thumbs down by cursing the entire set. Mel Gibson chose Jim Caviezel to play Jesus Christ. During his role, all kinds of accidents happened to him. Jim got pneumonia, dislocated his shoulder, and even had a huge chunk of flesh taken out of him during the whipping scene. But then there's the lightning too. While filming one scene, lightning struck Jim straight in the head. When an assistant named John Michelini ran out to check on Jim, lightning struck him too. Unbelievably, this was the 3rd time that lightning had hit the set. John the assistant had been struck once before. During an interview with the Christian Broadcasting Network, Jim says that he knew lightning was going to hit him a full 4 seconds before he was struck. Something inside of him felt that it was coming.